Well, welcome everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Ladies Professional Racquetball Tour. We're here at the Boston Open supporting Frontline Family Foundation. My name's Tim Baghurst, joined for this match by Tony Prater. Tony, we're just waiting for the introductions for these players to occur. They have. Stuart Solomon is once again off the mic. And here we go. It is 1 versus 4. Longoria against Herrera. Your thoughts on this match?
I feel like we've seen this matchup a lot, right? I mean, Herrera was #2 for a long period of time. We just saw her and Longoria meet over and over again in tournaments. So, my general kind of thoughts about it is, Longoria knows her game, knows what to do, and Herrera never seems to have an answer for her. So, we'll see what happens here. But I'm excited to see both. They've both been playing so well so far this week, and this should be another great match.
Well, Longoria is 19-2 against her opponent, Herrera. Herrera had a really sweet patch of play in the 2022 season where she defeated Longoria twice. In fact, I'll correct myself. Yeah, it was 2022. It was the Vero Beach Open followed by the Boston Open. So Herrera has won here against Longoria. It is possible. She's done it on this court. But over the last 3 matches, 2022, 23, and 24, Longoria has really controlled the play, and one would expect her to do so here, but you never know. That's why we watch. So settle in. Hope you enjoyed the match. If you're just joining us, Mejia advanced to the final earlier with 2 straight wins over her opponent, Vargas.
Such great court coverage from Longoria there. It looked like Herrera had put her back in the back corner where she was going to have a tough shot, but Paola with great hands made a great shot.
Zero serving 1. Herrera, the left-handed player. Had a full weekend of racquetball. We're in the final stages here.
It's always nice to see a packed house, and once again we have that. We have people moving from court to court to watch all of these great matches, both pro and amateur, but they are excited for this one.
And I will tell you, Tony, one of the things I love about coming to this facility and coming to the Northeast is that the fans up here really know racquetball well, and they cheer, they clap, they're engaged in these matches. 3-shot rally from here. We don't always see that at tournaments, and so it's really fun coming here and seeing the crowd engaged.
Yeah, I agree. We love the energy that they bring every time we're here.
Herrera caught that one back. I will say, Tony, it is a lot quieter around the courts in this match than our first semifinal, where it was back and forth. And so we'll see as this match goes on if it stays close, whether all those fans who are maybe grabbing some supper or whatever come back and really engage in this one.
Yeah, right. It kind of built with the last one. Both of those players, are firing out left and right. Longoria is very clinical, and so sometimes that reflects in the crowd's response to her because she's not feeding off their energy quite as much.
Herrera gets back in the service box. We did have a women's open division here, and 2 pros were in the final. Naomi Ross and Annie Sanchez, both USA players, both juniors. Although Sanchez just matriculated out of the Junior World Championships, and it was Ross who won it, 11-1, 11-9. So congratulations to Naomi Ross for that. Flat pass.
Yeah, it's such a deceptive shot sometimes because you as the player trying to attack it feel like it's up and you're able to get to it, but it just gets out of your reach
The
just
spin
a little bit every
keeps
time.
pulling it away from you. So frustrating. Well, in our last match, we saw very efficient play from both players. Mejia and Vargas were winning points when they were serving. Less so in this match. It's only 2-4. Although a point there for Herrera.
Yeah, and I think at one point we had mentioned that first game was only like 20 minutes because every time each of the players was in the service box, they were able to get points, as you mentioned.
Okay, Herrera tying it up at 4s. Herrera had a tougher effort to get here. The 4 seed took out Rodriguez 2-7, and then was really tested by Martinez. Skips that one. Martinez is the 5 seed, and they've been going back and forth over the last few tournaments. This time it was Herrera who claimed it. 15-13, 8-15, 11-6. Longoria had a tough test against Barrios in the round of 16s, winning at 13-11, and then a more routine win over Mendez, 1-10. Six serving 4.
6-4.
Yeah, Longoria, one of the few players in those instances that you'll see turn around and take her backhand like that. She put her back against the wall. You know, most people favor their forehand and even do that on the backhand side. She so loves that backhand that she does it all the time, pinning her opponent against the wall at the same time.
Another point, I think Herrera may take a timeout here. A replay coming up. The ball, I think you could see, and maybe not see the light, but it did hit the light and bounced a way that was different to the initial trajectory. 10 lights on the ceiling, along with a couple of other air conditioning vents, create some interesting bounces. That time Herrera holding up her racket, saying she wasn't ready. It's second serve.
But it also looked like a short serve at the same time,
yeah.
so it didn't really cost her.
And here comes the timeout from Herrera. We're going to take a timeout too. We'll be back here in Boston at the Wayside Athletic Club in just a moment. And we're back in, everybody. 8 serving 4. Timeout worked for Herrera. Used to have faced off in the Mexican Nationals a time or two as well. Big thanks to Stuart Solomon, tournament director, and Solomon Racket and Sports. He put so much into this tournament and racquetball in general. Tony, you've been part of this tournament for many years, and you've seen these pros come. We'll let this rally finish. Explain the value of having the pros here. Like, what is your experience? What are the experience of your friends and racquetball players who come to this event?
Yeah, sometimes they see the regular players, and you know, they look at the game and they're like, okay, I don't get what the the draw is to that and the attraction. And this club in particular, they have a huge badminton present now. They had a tournament last weekend that had 300 entrants into it.
Wow.
Yeah, so what we've seen so far is people still love to stop and watch when these, the professional ladies are here, because they're playing at such a high level, and they're like, wow, this isn't a game I was watching on Tuesday night. So it is a great draw, both for the people that play here and for everyone who comes in from out of town, and then even the non-players that are just passing by that stay to watch, which we see a lot of here in this club.
One of the things that we have done for Arizona is Arizona has hosted the event during a volleyball tournament, a women's girls young adult volleyball tournament. And so it's been great to see those players coming and watching and seeing racquetball, many for the first time. Well, it looks like the players stopped play.
Yeah, Herrera held her hand up thinking that there was like a court hinder back here.
Yeah, she just stopped.
Yeah. Our referee, Jose Flores, is going to go in and have a discussion with them real quick.
Yeah, it just made me wonder. You mentioned the badminton tournament, and my thought went to next year. Wonder if you had it during that tournament, and then you've got 350 players seeing this sport for the first time.
That's a good idea. Another thing that's interesting about this venue is the first year we held it here, they had these tall banners made up with like the top 10 pros at the time, and they're still hanging in the wall. So people walk by and see these, and it's nice because the kind of conversation happens all the time where people ask what's going on, and we point to the banners and we go, look, that's these incredible athletes that are on the court right now. So it is nice to see the banners and then to see the players in real life. So. But yes, that joining it with the badminton is a good idea, except for parking, but Oh.
Herrera doesn't like the call. She can appeal. She will appeal. Line judges agree. So Longoria 4 points away from game one. She leads 11-4. Just a reminder, coming up after this, we go into our doubles this evening. We have an Argentine pair against Argentinian. I've been corrected.
Okay.
Argentinian pair, Centellas Vargas, taking on Munoz and Mendez. Looking forward to that one because Mendez is a teammate of Vargas and Centellas and is now playing against them. Yeah. So that should be fun. Longoria looking for what's your call, Tony?
I didn't think it was a hinder either. Like, right, the two elements is that it has to be close to the other player's body as it comes by and cause an obstruction. And sometimes people don't see things, but the ball is pretty far away from the player. So that one just looked like it was away from her.
Well, the call favored Longoria, 11-4.
Did.
That's twice Longoria has done that.
Yes. We did see the players exchange those in the match before this, where they both caught each other with the, having the racket up and not catching it before they served.
Longoria now 3 points away. 7 p.m., our second double semifinal. The Mexican pair of Herrera Mejia, the 1 seeds, taking on Barrios and Laime, 2 Bolivians. And that'll be interesting because Barrios wasn't going to be playing with Laime. Laime was signed up to play with Michelle Key, who unfortunately had to withdraw at the last minute.
And the Laime Key team have been playing really well together.
Yeah, they did.
Both of these matchups, they look really good.
I mean, hey, you know what? I can't play with Michelle Key. I got to play with Angie Barrios.
Yeah.
All right. and here they are in the semifinals. Herrera's not done yet. Tony, you've been playing in this tournament. You're still alive or you're done?
Well, the New England has a unique format where we do singles on Saturday and doubles on Sunday.
Oh.
So, yeah, so I am done with singles today. And actually, you know, we wrapped up the men's open earlier, a few matches ago. So that division is done. But I do have 2 doubles divisions tomorrow. I'm playing in the mixed open with another local player and a Centurion. So I'm looking forward to getting doubles tomorrow.
Herrera, backhand running forward, puts that into the front wall and gets a point at 5-12. Just looking at your score lines, Tony, hard to lose tiebreakers, isn't it?
Another tiebreaker. And that particular player, I feel like we've played each other in the last like 4 or 5 tournaments together. So we've just been back and forth. Good player.
Timeout on the court taken by Longoria this time. She's leading 12-5. We're back in a minute.
I'm Carl.
And we're back in. Tim Backhurst, Tony Prater joining you. It is the second semifinal here at the Wayside Athletic Club.
I feel like we've kind of stalled out. The players continue to side each other out, and we've been around these points now for a handful of rallies.
So Herrera starting to come back into this first game. Still a long way to go for her.
Yeah, it's tough.
What can you do?
Be ready for that
What can you do? Sometimes the ball just favors you on some rallies, right?
Yeah. After noting that we'd been stuck at those scores for a while.
Well, it was 12-4, now it's 12-6 or 6-12. Yes, this is a much slower match than we had earlier. I feel like the points are longer. The rallies are longer than our first semifinal, which was a lot of shooting, a lot of going for bottom board. Here, there seems to be a lot more sealing balls, a lot more pushing each player around the court.
It does. You know, Longoria's play style has a lot of that, where she's really controlling everything and trying to move the other player where she wants them. A lot of the rallies end up. She did get one really great bounce that helped her out, and then just having it out of reach on the passes from Herrera.
Hold on, let's see what Longoria stops and puts up her hand. I'm really not sure why. I don't think it hit the lights, did it?
No, so when it hit it basically hit the crack on the sidewall and bounced, you know, into the court instead of being tight to the wall. So I think she was then saying, hey, the other player was in my way here.
Well, but if it hits the crack on the side wall and front wall, that's not a court hinder. That's just a.
Yeah, she was asking for a penalty hint, is what Herrera is asking.
Well, there could be an appeal coming. Let's find out. I think there is. So line judges agree with the official. I couldn't quite hear what the official said.
Yeah, I think he said he called a replay, and Herrera was appealing a penalty hinder, and then both, you know, line judges agreed with the ref's call.
I just wasn't sure why there was a replay to begin with.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about this court. Every court is unique, and each show court is unique to the other. This one has its idiosyncrasies too.
It does. It has these, you know, like panels that are mounted directly to this concrete that causes it to play really fast, and then this parquet floor.
Wait, say again. Panels connected to concrete?
Yeah, right. So it has like a different flex to it, and it plays really fast when people hit it. Like a lot of times, sometimes you put like a barrier between things, right? And you get a little softer reaction when you do that. But these here, just they play so fast. The floor is the same way. So if you don't adjust to it quickly enough, like you can be overwhelmed by it. But you know, both of these have already had several rounds, and they come here every year, so they're pretty comfortable on these courts.
Absolutely. Skip off from Longoria. Herrera with another point, 7-13. All of a sudden, Herrera's back in this. At 12-4, you thought, well, this is probably done and dusted in game one, but 7-13, she's hanging around.
Right, and what we hear a lot of times from the players is that, even if you don't come back to win it, that just getting in a, a good place, you're hitting the ball well, getting a bunch of points is so positive going into the next game.
Eight 13.
And if you're able to stick with it, and pull out, some of these wins when you've been down real big, it helps you in the future sometimes, because maybe that player is up on you big again, and then you start getting points, and it's in their head. They're like, oh, I've seen this before where this person was able to come back.
Herrera hits a winner there, and Longoria is going to take a timeout. Take another look at this forehand pinch winner. We're going to take a timeout too. We're back. We're still in game one. And we're back in, everybody. Tim Baghurst, Tony Prater enjoying this game one. And what a lengthy game one it's been, Tony. It didn't seem to be like, oh, this could be pretty brief, but Herrera's hanging around. And we're over 30 minutes now, and we're still in game one.
Yeah, somewhere around that 11-4, 12-4. We got a lot of side outs back to back, and so there was a lot of racquetball happening, but not a lot of points going up on the board, which is one of the positives of racquetball. There's no clock, and we're not rally scoring, with the LPRT. So you just keep playing, just keep chipping away, and you can work your way back into these.
One of the comments in the chat was, we should just get rid of court hinders. Just the ball bounces where it bounces.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of tournaments that agree to play that way anyways, and you just play through it. And so there's just one of the great things about the way the USA racquetball rules are written is that as long as you put it on your entry form, right, the tournament directors can make that change to their tournaments. So or the other thing you could do is you can make that suggestion, right, to the rules committee that maybe we need to evaluate it. So,
well, we should clarify, we don't use USAR rules. We use LPRT rules that follow IRF, so it's a little different.
Okay.
But we got game point here for Longoria. There it is. Longoria claims game one. Skip from Herrera. 15-9. Okay, we're going to take a 2-minute break. We'll find out what Herrera does because she has to win game All right, we're back in, everybody. A question in the chat was, what is the LPRT rule for foot being partially across the service box back line on the serve? Well, the answer is it cannot be. You have to be inside the line. And it's, I would argue, Tony, one of the things that nobody actually pays attention to as a ref, because why would you foot fault on that line? And sometimes it happens, particularly on the back foot.
It does. It takes the smallest little pivot when you're starting your service motion to be over that back line. But you're right. It doesn't feel like you gain much of an advantage just being over slightly. But it is the rule, to answer the question, like you said, is anything over the back line is a foot fault, and then the entire thing over the front line is a foot fault.
I'd be very curious about the audience's thoughts on the encroachment line. What if we just got rid of it?
Yeah, right. I mean, we use the word encroachment line too, and we taught what that is called the safety zone, right? Like the intention was, but we did change the rules a couple of years ago, right, to where the players could now leave the service box as soon as the ball hit their racket.
Yes.
So you're in that weird spot where it was there originally, and the player couldn't leave till the ball crossed the short line, but now they're coming out way quicker. That we're in this gray area where one rule cascaded into another.
We see a number of concerns from players on the encroachment, and it's so hard as an official to judge from the back of the court whether encroachment occurred. We saw that yesterday in particular.
Yeah, was it a Z serve? That seems to happen a lot, right? When it's coming across the player.
It was just a lob serve, I think.
Yeah.
I don't remember Z, but it was Cheryl Lotz, I think, and Vargas. And Lotz wasn't happy with how Vargas was attacking those serves.
Yeah.
Could be wrong on those, but I'm pretty sure that was right.
Because sometimes the real aggressive receiver, right, is sometimes looking for a penalty hitter because they're like, look, the serve is right in my way as I'm coming up to take this ball. But you are trying to balance that. Don't go over the encroachment line. You know, wait for the ball to either bounce or pass that, you know, that line before you attack it.
Herrera couldn't get that one back to the front wall. Longoria claimed the first and has started the right way in the second, 2-0. Tony, if you could change one rule in racquetball, what would it be? Actually, let's ask everybody, if you could change one rule in racquetball, what would you change?
Oh, well, let's let them think about it for a second.
Yeah, I'll give you a second. I kind of threw that one on you.
You know, I would say generically, and since we just talked about foot faults, one of the very difficult things to judge when you're reffing is that front football, unless it's very egregious, right? If they're drive serving, you're tending to look at was it a short serve or not, right? So it's almost one that it's so difficult to call that it's like, why is it there?
Should you just get rid of the foot fault line?
Yeah.
And they can serve from as close as they want, but if they don't, because if you are that close to the front wall and get it wrong, you're avoidable hinder straight up.
It almost feels like you want to tell them just one of your feet has to be in the service box, you know, and maybe just eliminate that going all the way over the front being the problem.
Interesting idea. There you go, exactly, the encroachment line discussion. Let's see if we can get a replay of this. Watch Herrera's feet. Does she cross this line? That didn't look like it.
No, it looked good. I mean, her foot, she definitely planted her foot, you know, parallel to that encroachment line. It was just, as you said, from our angle, it's difficult to judge whether or not the ball was at that plane yet when she struck it.
Yeah, without glass on the sides, you don't have that line judge standing over there who can see those things so well.
Yeah.
So our question for you is, if you could change one rule in racquetball, what would it be? Is it good? Referee says yes.
The referee agrees. You know, eliminating the three-wall call on the serve could result in some really aggressive Z serves.
So timeout on the court. We'll keep it here because David says, how about a non-call if the ball hits you after it is determined that your opponent can't return the ball? So I guess you hit the ball into yourself, but your opponent would have never gotten it.
Yeah. You know, we have so many judgment calls, you know, that we put on the ref already that, you know, I do worry about that. But that's a good point, right? A lot of times that happens is you have your opponent pinned.
Especially in doubles.
On the other side, and you kind of hit it back at yourself because you know they can't get all the way over across the court. And then you do hit yourself and you're like, darn it. That's an interesting idea, though.
Yeah, I've thought about just eliminating the encroachment zone because, as you said, it's called a safety zone. But if you eliminate it, it will change the way you serve, too, because you may not serve so close to your body. You may not try to I mean, the safety zone is primarily for lob serves, for second serves, because rarely is somebody going to stand up at the service box for a drive serve. I can't see anybody who would do that.
No, you're so out of position there.
And so it's really for lob serves, and it would make you rethink how you lob serve, because if somebody can stand up at that line with you, you better get out of the way when you serve that ball. Here we go. Another point for Longoria, 6-0. Just cleared 45 minutes in this match. That time ball skips.
That's good. You know, we had talked about maybe Herrera, you know, running some points at the end, getting comfortable in there. It might translate to game two. But right now, you know, she's still letting Longoria, you know, just get points on her every time she's in the box and slowly walk away from her.
Yes, it's systematic for sure. Herrera has a very wide stance to return serve. I wonder, too, if there's a little bit of a fatigue factor for Herrera, who had to play a punishing tiebreaker just a few hours ago. Mentally, as well as physically, that can be draining.
Yeah, you put a lot of energy into that, like you say, and then you come down to that. It's almost like you let down a little. You relax so much. So even if you're not technically physically drained, you put yourself in a lower energy state.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's tough to ramp back up sometimes.
Longoria's had no such challenges. She's been comfortable coming through her rounds, winning in 2 straight, both her matches. Winner, by the way, will take on Mejia tomorrow. Don't want to miss that one. Mejia's playing very well this weekend. So a long way to go for Herrera, 0-8. And it's just systematic. A point here, a point there for Longoria. Herrera has gotten in the service box, but not executing her serve, you think.
It is, right? And then there's not much you can offer to Longoria, right? I mean, she goes deep into the draw for, well over a decade, 10, 15 years. So she's seen all of these players, lots of times. She's seen all different sorts of play styles. And so she has a lot in her toolbox that she can draw upon when things are happening.
So one of the timeout is coming from Herrera, 10-0. One of the suggestions in the chat was going to 1 serve, which has been done before.
It has. I think over the years we've even tried, I believe the ladies years ago did the ping pong style where you got 5 straight serves, no matter what, right? And then you transitioned after that. So even if you ended up at 3-2, whatever the points were, you transitioned. So I know there have been lots of different styles tried, but maybe. Will that just transition the game into everyone lob serving because they're afraid of losing their serve?
Potentially, but what it would do for sure is speed up the matches, which if we're going to call this a fast-paced sport, it is when they're playing. But we spend most of our time in this sport waiting for somebody to play. And if I did a study with a graduate student, and we calculated the length of rallies, and we found that the average rally, at least at open play, was less than 4 shots. And so that transitions to less than 10 seconds of play. But then you've got, in theory, 10 seconds between points, and we know it's more than 10 because they got to go get the ball and all those things, so we say 15 seconds. So we spend most of our time not watching play. Therefore, going to 1 serve where we've got 10 seconds, first serve, 10 seconds, second serve, there would be the pace of the game would be much quicker.
When you did that study, did you look at the number of second serves that were occurring? Was it significant to the point, where
yeah,
it was definitely
we did
at a time? Okay.
I don't know the number offhand, but first per percentage was something in the region of 60%, which is pretty typical. I mean, Statman isn't here. We've done that on the LPRT matches before. I would say it hovers around 65% when it's a drive serve. Z serves obviously are going to be a much higher percentage if somebody's taking their first serve as a lob serve. clearly it's going to be different. But when they drive serve, they hover around 60-65%.
Yeah, and trying to ride that line of being short, right? Because you do know that you have that second serve, so you're like, okay, I'm going to hit this, and I'm not worried if it's short. So you're right. It kind of creates itself, right, by saying we know we have that second serve.
Well, that may be a statistic for next time Statman comes. How many rallies were there?
Are you a fan of the rally scoring?
Oh. If we're just talking about Tim,
Yes.
and just Tim's opinion, I am. But maybe not for the reasons that other people might argue. Longoria with another one at 12-0. A few years ago, when in Tallahassee, we ran an experiment with some pro players. We did an invitational with pro players, and we messed around with rally scoring to see what worked, how long the games would be, what points, how many points should be in each game, etc. And I won't take full credit for this by any stretch, but the IRF did adopt the best of 5 to 11 based on the data we provided them. Another point, 13-0. I don't think playing to 11 is long enough for a match that equates this. You know, here we are, we're almost at an hour, and we've had I'm trying to do the math here, 37 points. And so it's very inefficient from a viewing perspective. I do think rally scoring needs to be longer, maybe to 13 or 15 best of 5, just to equate to the amount of time that players typically play a regular match on average. But what I've noticed, two things, and I've talked to a lot of the players about this too. First, it's mentally harder to play rally scoring. You can't switch off when you're serving because you can lose a point. And so that really tests the mental toughness of players.
Yeah, I was at Nationals, right, several years ago when we did that at Texas A&M, where they played with that style. I don't know if you remember that, the 3 out of 5, right, rally scoring. And from what I saw just watching anecdotally was that sometimes the players were taken off guard because they actually won a match and they didn't realize it because in their head they're so used to, oh, I just won that rally, now I'm pumped up to go serve. Mm-hmm. And they're like, nope, game's over, right? So that was different for people. But one of the other things I said that made a difference is we talk often about how the serve can be such a weapon because, you know, it's the only time you have it in your hand and you get to choose what you want to do and how you want to play. So you're taking people that are in the disadvantaged position, the non-server, and they're able to win a rally and get points out of it. So there is something to that, too, about being in the disadvantaged position and still coming out with a point.
13-0. What I've noticed in the IRF events, what I've noticed in the IRF events is that the matches are closer. The person who's supposed to win typically still wins, but the underdog may snatch a game here or there, whereas in this format typically doesn't happen as much. The other thing that I would change is I don't think you should win the match on your return of serve. Looks like Longoria is taking a timeout. I don't think you should win. I think you should win on your serve.
Serve to win, okay.
And so that would add a little bit of give the defender, the receiver, a chance to stay in the match because that person has to win 2 rallies in a row in order to close it out. And that would actually draw the scores together more. It would give that person who's down an opportunity to, I saved the match point and I got a point and now I'm serving, and they're going to have to win 2. And so it would really bring the scores closer together, which I'm looking at this from a commentary point of view, a fan point of view. We want to see great action. We want to see tight matches. We want to see pressure. We want to see anxious players and all of this, rather than, oh, yeah, it's a match that, well, they won all of their points because they had a better serve. The other person got in the service box, couldn't serve, and it was a blowout. And I want to see matches that are, 15-13, 15-12 every game if we can, because that makes it exciting and draws people to watch.
Yeah, and the IRF rule, I believe, right? It's win by 2, right?
It is win by 2.
So you do have that too. So it isn't just you get a point, you win. I mean,
right,
unless you were up in that
but
position.
You can win on your return of serve.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Longoria took the timeout, 2 points away. Make that 1 point. Match point for Longoria, looking like she's going to the final tomorrow. And there it is. Longoria claims it, 15-9, 15-0, and advances to the final to face Montse Mejia tomorrow. Coming up next, we're going to let the players warm up, but we've got doubles for you. It's the semifinals. Make sure that you join us for those. It should be interesting. Our first one is Centellas and Vargas, the Argentinians, taking on their teammate Mendez alongside Chilean Munoz. Tony, enjoyed the conversation. Always fun to chat racquetball and share ideas. Hope you've enjoyed the coverage wherever you're watching. We'll be back in a little bit.